I was 9 years old when I first experienced true terror while home alone. It was the middle of winter, late January, the kind of cold that seeped through the walls no matter how high you turned the heat. Our house sat on a quiet suburban street where every lawn looked the same, and the nearest neighbor was far enough away that you couldn't hear them unless they were shouting. It was just me, Mom, and Dad. Dad worked long hours at the plant, and Mom had started night classes at the community college twice a week. That meant Tuesdays and Thursdays I was on my own from about 6 until 10 or 11 at night. I didn't mind. I actually liked it. I'd spread my crayons and paper across the kitchen table, draw superheroes and monsters, and pretend I was the last kid on Earth. We had one of those old wall-mounted phones in the kitchen, cream-colored with a long coiled cord that stretched all the way to the hallway if you wanted privacy. The ringer was loud, shrill, impossible to ignore. Mom's only rule was simple. If the phone rings and it's not us or Grandma, don't answer. Just let it ring. I nodded every time like I understood. But at 9, I didn't really get why anyone would call and not say anything. I figured it was just an adult worry. That particular Thursday started like any other. Mom kissed the top of my head, reminded me there was leftover lasagna in the fridge, and told me to lock the door behind her. I did. The click of the deadbolt sounded final, like the world outside stopped existing. I heated up the lasagna, ate it straight from the foil pan while watching cartoons in the living room, then moved to the kitchen table to draw. The house was warm, the overhead light bright, snow tapping softly against the windows. Everything felt safe. Around 7 o'clock, the phone rang for the first time. I jumped a little. It was loud in the quiet house, but I walked over and checked the little window on the base that showed the caller ID. It just said, "Unknown number." I remembered Mom's rule and let it ring. 8 rings, 9, 10, then silence. I went back to drawing. 5 minutes later, it rang again. Same thing, unknown number. I stood there watching it, waiting for it to stop. This time it rang 12 times before cutting off. I started feeling a little uneasy, but told myself it was probably a wrong number or one of those sales calls Mom always complained about. I turned on the radio in the kitchen for company, some oldies station playing soft songs, and kept drawing. At 7:28, it rang a third time. I don't know why I answered. Maybe curiosity. Maybe I thought it might be Mom checking in from a payphone. I picked up on the 4th ring. "Hello?" Silence on the other end. Then slow, heavy breathing, like someone holding the phone close to their mouth and just listening. "Hello?" I said again, louder. The breathing didn't change. It got deeper, closer. I could almost feel it in my ear. I hung up fast and backed away from the phone like it was hot. My heart was racing now. I told myself it was nothing. Kids get weird calls sometimes. I'd seen it in movies. But 10 minutes later, it rang again. I didn't want to answer, but something made me. I picked up and said nothing. The voice came immediately. Low, hoarse, almost a whisper, but clear enough that every word landed like ice in my stomach. "Are you home alone?" I froze. My mouth went dry. I couldn't speak. "I know you are," the voice continued. "I can hear how quiet it is." I slammed the phone down and ran to the window over the sink. The curtains were open. The backyard was blanketed in snow, lit faintly by the porch light. Nothing moved, no footprints, just darkness and falling flakes. I yanked the curtains closed and stood there shaking. The phone rang again, almost immediately. I didn't answer this time. I backed out of the kitchen and into the hallway, staring at it on the wall. It kept ringing, 15 times, 20, then stopped. Silence felt worse than the ringing. I ran upstairs to my room, closed the door, and sat on my bed hugging my knees. I told myself it was just a prank, some older kids from school messing around, that's all. But then the phone rang again. I could hear it faintly through the floor. And again, and again. Each time it stopped, I thought it was over. Then it would start right back up. At around 8:30, I heard the front door rattle. Just once, like someone testing the handle. I screamed, full-on screamed into my pillow, so whoever was outside wouldn't hear. Then nothing. I crawled under my bed with my flashlight and stayed there, shining the beam at the door, waiting. That's when the phone rang again, and this time the voice left a message on the answering machine downstairs. I could hear it faintly through the vents. "I can see you picked up your flashlight. You're hiding now, aren't you? Under the bed. That's smart. But I know which room is yours. Second window on the left." I started crying, silent, choking sobs. How could anyone know that? The calls kept coming every few minutes. Each time I could hear the machine pick up, the beep, then that same hoarse whisper, describing more and more. The color of my pajamas, the superhero poster on my wall, the way I was clutching my old stuffed bear. "I'm walking around the house now. The snow's deep, but I'm patient." Another. "Your mom's car isn't in the driveway. She won't be home for hours." I'm coming inside now. I heard the back door creak open downstairs. Slow footsteps on the kitchen tile. I shoved myself as far under the bed as I could, flashlight off, holding my breath. The footsteps moved through the kitchen, into the living room, then started up the stairs. One step. Pause. Another step. They stopped right outside my door. I heard breathing on the other side, close, like someone pressing their face to the wood. Then the doorknob turned slowly, once to the left, once to the right, testing the lock. It stopped. Silence. Minutes passed, maybe 10, maybe 20. Then I heard my parents' car in the driveway. Headlights swept across my ceiling, doors slamming, voices calling my name. The footsteps ran back downstairs fast. I heard the back door slam shut just as Mom opened the front. They found me under the bed, hysterical. I couldn't speak at first. When I finally could, I told them everything. Dad checked the whole house. All doors and windows were locked, except the back door, which was unlocked now. There were wet footprints on the kitchen floor leading in and out, small ones, like a child's, but melted too fast to tell more. Mom called the police. They came, took a report, listened to the answering machine messages. The voice was distorted, untraceable. The number always came up blocked. They said it was likely a prank call escalated by someone watching the house, maybe a neighbor kid with binoculars or something. They drove around the block a few times, but found nothing. We changed our number the next day, got a new answering machine, installed better locks. I never stayed alone on Thursday nights again. But here's what still haunts me, 20 years later. The police said the footprints were too small to be an adult's, more like a child's size. And sometimes, when I'm home alone now, even in a different city, different house, my phone will ring once from an unknown number. I never answer, but if I listen close enough to the silence after it stops, I swear I can still hear breathing, waiting for me to pick up.